Look, let's be honest. When we talk about immigration in America, it's like we're a nation with a severe case of amnesia. We proudly call ourselves a nation of immigrants right before complaining about, well, immigrants. It's a spectacular bit of mental gymnastics. Unless you are a Native American, your family tree has a branch that started on a boat, a plane, or by walking across a border that wasn't always there. Your great-great-grandma didn't just magically appear in Ohio with a casserole recipe. She came from somewhere else. Ireland, Italy, Poland, China, Mexico, Nigeria, fleeing something or running towards something. And back then, the rules for getting in were, to put it mildly, a bit different. The story we tell ourselves about our own families is often romanticized. We imagine our ancestors arriving with nothing but a dream and a strong work ethic, and that's often true. But we conveniently forget that they were frequently met with suspicion and hostility. Signs that said, "No Irish need apply," were very real. People whispered that Italian and Polish immigrants were un-American and couldn't assimilate. The very same arguments we hear today were used against the ancestors of the people making those arguments now. It's a frustratingly durable cycle of suspicion, where each new generation of arrivals is seen as a threat, while the previous generation's struggles are airbrushed into a heroic, sanitized tale. This historical forgetfulness is the foundation of our broken debate. It allows people to stand on a platform of "we did it the right way," ignoring the fact that the right way has been a constantly shifting, often discriminatory set of rules. For much of our history, there wasn't even a complex system to navigate. You just showed up. The concept of a hyper-regulated bureaucratic maze of visas and quotas is a relatively modern invention, one that our own relatives might have struggled with immensely. Forgetting this simple fact lets us judge new arrivals by a standard our own families might never have met. It's like winning a race and then immediately building a wall on the finish line for everyone else. So the next time you hear someone talking about real Americans versus immigrants, it's worth gently reminding them about their own family's journey. Your grandpa from Sicily or your grandmother from Seoul wasn't fundamentally different from the family that just arrived from Guatemala. They were all just people, looking for a bit of safety and a chance to build a better life. They were all chasing the same dream that America supposedly offers. Remembering that shared history is the first and most crucial step toward having a conversation that doesn't immediately descend into shouting and finger-pointing. It's about recognizing we're all in the same boat, even if some of us have forgotten how we got on board. Now, let's talk about the rules. The big scary phrase you hear all the time is violating immigration policy or they broke the law. And on the surface, that sounds simple. Laws are laws, right? You break them, you face the consequences. But here's the thing. America's immigration system isn't a clear, straightforward rule book. It's more like a 10,000-page user agreement for a printer written in Klingon that changes every few months without notice. It's a system so complex and contradictory that it almost seems designed to be broken. It's not a picket fence. It's a bureaucratic labyrinth with dead ends, hidden traps, and moving walls. For many people, getting in line isn't an option because for them, there is no line. Depending on your country of origin, your skills, and your family connections, the waiting list for a legal visa can be decades long. For some, it's effectively infinite. Imagine your house is on fire, and the fire department tells you to fill out a form and they'll get back to you in 20 years. You're not going to wait. You're going to get your family out. That is the reality for countless people fleeing violence or crushing poverty. They are not choosing to break the rules out of disrespect. They are choosing to survive. Furthermore, the very definition of legal has been a political football for over a century. The laws have been repeatedly rewritten to include some groups and exclude others, often based on race and national origin. The Chinese Exclusion Act, the national origins quotas of the 1920s, these were the laws of their time. Following those laws meant participating in explicit state-sanctioned racism. So when we demand blind obedience to the current policy, we need to ask ourselves if that policy is actually fair, functional, or just. A law isn't automatically moral just because it's a law. History is littered with terrible laws that we now look back on with shame. This is why the conversation needs more nuance than a cable news soundbite can offer. It's not just a matter of legal versus illegal. It's about a system that has become an unnavigable paper wall. A system where, as reports from this year have shown, we can't even keep track of the unaccompanied children we take into custody. when the system itself is failing so profoundly, from its Byzantine application processes to its inability to care for the vulnerable, branding every person caught in its gears as a criminal is a profound and deeply unhelpful oversimplification. It's blaming the player for a game that's rigged from the start. When a system is this broken, our solution has been to throw more enforcement at it, specifically, agencies like Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. The logic seems to be that if a key doesn't fit a lock, the answer isn't to fix the key, but to use a battering ram on the door. But this blunt force approach has a staggering human cost, and it often hurts the very fabric of the communities it's meant to protect. It's a strategy that creates fear and instability, especially for ordinary people who are just trying to live their lives, pay their taxes, and raise their kids in peace. Consider the reality for the estimated 11 million undocumented people in the United States. A huge number of them, around 79%, have been living here for nearly 15 years. They are not hiding in the shadows, they are our neighbors. They are the parents of our children's classmates, the workers who build our homes, the cooks in our favorite restaurants. They have mortgages, families, and deep roots in their communities. Yet they live under the constant, terrifying threat that a simple traffic stop could lead to their family being ripped apart. This isn't a hypothetical. It happens every single day. A father is deported, leaving behind a United States citizen child who is now effectively an orphan of the state. This is where that great American amnesia kicks in again. People whose own families benefited from a more forgiving, or at least less ruthlessly efficient system, now support policies that show zero compassion. They forget that their Irish or Italian ancestors were also once seen as the other. The enforcement-only mindset turns neighbors into suspects and transforms communities into hunting grounds. It's a tragic irony. A nation built on the promise of a fresh start has become terrifyingly proficient at ending them. And for what? Despite ballooning budgets for enforcement, the root causes of migration remain completely unaddressed. Think of it like this. If your basement keeps flooding, you don't solve the problem by hiring more and more people to frantically scoop out water with buckets. You fix the leaky pipe. Our immigration policy is all buckets, no plumbers. We spend billions on enforcement, while proposals to fund more asylum officers, judges, and integration programs, the actual plumbing work, fail to pass in Congress. This enforcement-first approach doesn't solve the problem. It just creates a whirlwind of human misery, traumatizing children and destabilizing the very communities we all live in. It's a costly, cruel, and ultimately ineffective strategy. So, if battering rams and broken systems aren't the answer, what is? Well, the solution might be simpler and closer to home than we think. It starts with shifting our perspective. Instead of seeing immigration as a problem to be solved with fences and force, we can see it as a reality to be managed with intelligence, compassion, and common sense. The real work doesn't happen in angry TV debates. It happens in our own communities, when we decide to be watchers on the wall, not to keep people out, but to keep our own leaders in check and ensure they act ethically. Imagine a system where communities take the lead. We've seen glimmers of this, like the Welcoming America conference in June, where local leaders focused on how to actually integrate new arrivals. This is where the ice of fear and suspicion begins to melt. It's in the warmth of a neighbor offering a helping hand, a church sponsoring a refugee family, or a local business providing job training. When we engage on a human level, the scary, abstract immigrant becomes a person. Maria, who makes amazing tamales, or Kenji, whose daughter is on the same soccer team as yours. Empathy is the ultimate antidote to fear-mongering. This community-led approach must be paired with fierce citizen accountability. We, the people, have the power and the responsibility to demand better. We need to watch our elected officials and our enforcement agencies like hawks. We need to ask tough questions. Is this policy actually making us safer? Is it humane? Is it fiscally responsible to spend billions on deporting people who have been our neighbors for over a decade? Laws should serve the people, all the people, not just the whims of a few loud, angry voices. Holding leaders accountable means showing up, speaking out, and voting for those who offer solutions, not just slogans. Ultimately, you can be part of the solution. This isn't someone else's problem to fix. It starts with educating yourself beyond the headlines. Talk to your neighbors, listen to the stories of immigrants in your own community, and remember your own family story. Challenge the simple narratives. Support local organizations that help new arrivals. call your representatives and demand a system that is fair, orderly, and humane. We can fix this broken system. Together we can build a country that lives up to its own ideals, a nation that is not just a nation of immigrants, but a nation that truly welcomes them.